All right. Would you tell me that again, Doug?
Yep.
What am I looking at
S-
here?
So for me, my styles, VUjade styles are I'm integrated kinesthetic visual, I'm an introvert, and I'm an outcome person.
Okay.
So for me, driving and working in cars is something I really enjoy because when I work on a car, I get to use my hands. It's kinesthetic. I work on engines,
Me too.
and it's also just a time to be meditative. It's that introverted piece. It allows me to separate things out, and I actually think a lot when I'm doing that because it's the same with me down below with cooking and things like that. Oh, that one's not there. I love cooking as well.
Oh,
So
man,
cooking is meditative
great.
for me.
That's great.
So concerts, performances, sporting events. Once again, for me, it's even though I'm in the large crowd, it actually, and I can interact there, but I actually get chances to, especially with music, just kind of reflect and be introverted in those cases. So these are places where I can relax. Even though I'm in a big group, I'm actually sometimes by myself, just lost in the music. Um, the outdoors, once again, a chance to just reconnect to nature, get a little bit of space and reflect. That's introversion. I love maps. I collect antique maps. So for
Yeah, what
me,
are what are those?
they're maps from the 1800s. I think my oldest one is from the 1600s. So I collect antique maps. I love it. That's my visual side coming out there.
Is it from
I
where you live or just anywhere in the world or what?
More often where I've lived. So,
Huh.
for example, where I lived in England, where I lived in India, parts of the United States. There are some other ones as well, but for me, that's my visual side coming out, and I really like to connect to history. So I really enjoy that from an outcome point of view, thinking from different perspectives in history. Um, Once again, historical places for me, go visiting Williamsburg or any kind of historical place, just once again reconnects me kinesthetically to a different time and place.
Nice.
And then even that's the same with wine. Wine is living. So, having a 15-year-old bottle of wine and just the magic of connecting back to another period and experiencing, I haven't bought now for a while, but a case of wine and letting it age and seeing how it's different in that case. That's the kinesthetic experiential piece of me.
Beautiful.
So
My
that's
my kinesthetic hobby was drinking wine
I
till
drink I
I
drink
could
wine
not
as well.
walk.
Well, I don't do that, but yeah, I just but I mean once again, so for me, if and once again it could be, like scuba diving or things like that. What do you get? For me, scuba diving is both an introverted and a kinesthetic activity.
Let me ask you a question about that. So, like, I was drowned, had a near-death experience about
Oh my
age
goodness.
3 in an irrigation ditch and
Oh
floated a
wow.
few blocks down. And a neighbor fished me out. Somehow they resuscitated me, and I don't know what happened after that. But anyway, I lived. I don't have a memory of it, but I have trouble. I went to Fiji Islands, and you could do wonderful scuba diving there, but I was afraid to
Absolutely.
do that.
I mean, so in those circumstances, if you're thinking about therapy about that and you really want to do it, if you don't, that's fine. I mean, I've scuba dived down to, wow, about 143 feet
Oh my
is,
God. Well, let's just talk about 20 feet.
yeah. And in truth, that was when I was much younger, when I was in the military and I was in my 20s. Because I wouldn't do that now. Just, I don't have
Yeah, but
the
if
health to do
if I
that.
wanted to scuba dive, right?
You
How
don't need to scuba
difficult
dive
is
that
it?
deep. It's not that bad.
No, no,
And
not that deep. Just like there was a wreck of a old ship on Telos Island in Greece, off
hmm,
the coast of Turkey. And I went down there and they had these big lionfish. You don't want to get close to them, they'll sting you.
nope,
But
I know
I
exactly.
could see that I could put on a snorkel thing and then, with a little, not a real snorkel, and dive down and then see it and then dive right back up. and then dive
Yeah.
down. So, you know, I could
Yeah,
do that.
you're doing snorkeling. Yeah, which is actually that's the way you start. And in truth, 90% of what you'll see in the ocean is within 30 feet. And getting down to 30 feet, even if you have any kind of an emergency, you can shoot right up to the surface and you're going to be
Okay.
fine, even with scuba
Okay.
gear. You know,
Well,
so
that's what
that's
I'll do. I'll do that.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, even when I don't scuba dive, in fact, I haven't scuba dived for a while, like 10 or 15 years. So every time I go, if it's been over a year, I will do the quick little review with them, even though I'm been certified since 1988 to scuba
Wow.
dive. But I will always recertify because that safety piece is there. But the deepest I will go is like 40 feet now because everything there's is anyway. You don't need to
Yeah.
really go deeper than that unless you know, if you talk about wreck dives, going down to a wreck if it's in shallow waters, that's great. Of course, you don't want to go into a wreck unless you've actually done a
No, no,
course on
I wouldn't go.
going
I
into a
wouldn't do
wreck.
that.
Yeah.
No, no,
Yeah. I
no.
don't I don't even do that, because I haven't done that course. So, but for
Yeah.
me, once
Thank
again,
you.
it's different than snorkeling in the fact that it's almost like being in space, I would assume. I haven't been in space, so I don't know. But it's quiet unless you have like a motorboat going by, and you'll hear them like a mile away with the noise, how the noise travels through the water.
Hmm.
But um, once again, I love nature. I love things like that. It's kinesthetic. It feels my introverted nature because it's quiet. It's otherworldly, in fact. So those kinds of
Beautiful.
things you can see in your with your hobbies. You can see um, what your styles are, and then by recognizing that, you can then better communicate to other people that, hey, this is my style and this is where I'm most at home. And for us to connect, especially if you're going through trauma, through dealing with traumas with family members and things like that, it's just an indicator that this is the kind of thing I need to be authentic.
Why do you say authentic?
Well, I mean that we choose our hobbies. In our work, we don't always get to choose what we're doing. But
Okay.
a hobby is something we choose. So
Oh,
they're one of the most authentic things we can do because we like doing it.
okay. I'm going to tell you my hobby, and then you tell me how it fits
Okay.
my scores. All right. You ready for
Yep.
this?
I'm bringing you up. Yep. Let's
All
go.
right. I'll let you bring me up. Okay. So
Mhm.
I like finding old objects, old things that have been thrown away, and bringing them back to life. So we bought it's a late 60s, early 1970s single axle travel trailer. Things all beat up. There was leaking water when we bought it. It was raining when we bought it. It was leaking. And, I had to get their springs replaced because it was bouncing like that, and it didn't have a title. It didn't have a righteous VIN number. So, and I knew I was going to have to go through all kinds of steps before I get a license and everything. But anyway, I towed it around, got the new springs and U clamps and fixed it up a little bit and drove it to the motor vehicle here in Lake Caballo, up by, well, in Truth or Consequences. And then they said, look, you're going to have to get this and this and this and this and this and this. It's going to be like 6 trips. And one of them's go to the state police. He's going to check that this is not a legal VIN number. But the guy said it was a legal VIN number. We had to wait a month for the appointment because the VIN numbers were shorter in the 60s and early
Right.
70s. They had fewer numbers.
I'm familiar with that. I had the same thing with my 1930 series cars.
Yeah, there
They're
you go.
the
There
VIN
you
number's
go.
on the engine block, and it's not even a VIN number. It's an ID number. It's called a VIN number now. But
So this weekend I had to take it, or this other day, Friday or something, I had to go and, or was it a Monday? Maybe it was a Monday. I'll go see a guy that has an RV repair and sales shop in Elephant Butte, just north of TRC, and get an assessment because I gave the the state police is certified. This is the VIN number. This is the year we think it is. Go ahead. And they said, well, you had a surety bond for 5,000. How do I know this 1972 or whatever it is travel trailer is worth more than $5,000? And I'm going, are you serious? Are you serious? And then what happened is I had to figure out get that State Farm thing. Anyway, I had all these things, man, all these things I had to do. And he said, well, I think it's worth about $700, but it's in pretty good condition. I said, yeah, I fixed it up. I put a gas heater in, a new air conditioner. He said, well, about 2,000. I said, well, I paid 2,500 for it, but double the 2,000 is under 5,000. But do you see what I'm willing to go through to
I am.
resuscitate something old? And I go out
Hmm.
there now, and it's parked out here. I can see it from a window here, and I'll go out there and put on the TV. I mount it on the wall and get the air conditioner going. Or now it's kind of cold, 50 degrees. Or I was out there this morning, seeing how two bolts I put in yesterday held up. I don't know. Just uh, closing the flap on the top, with a little crank. I bought a new crank. So who does that kind of stuff? Who
Lots of.
does that? Why? Why am I doing that?
Well, that's exactly the question I was going to ask you. Why are you doing that? What satisfaction do you get out of doing that?
Well, I chose to do it. Um, I can't save everything in my life, but hi, Cassandra, but I can save that travel trailer, you know. Cassandra, were you in the military?
Yes,
I thought you were.
the Navy.
Okay. My dad was in the Navy. He was on Douglas MacArthur's aircraft carrier. Was a
Yeah,
sp
I got to go on two aircraft carriers actually because I started out, they sent me right to the fleet after my original job didn't work out. So I did a deployment with a squadron on the Carl Vinson, and then I got a rate, a job, and then they moved me over to the Nimitz. So I got to
No,
do a
that's
lot
that's
in my very
great.
short 4 years. And sorry for the noise. I just dropped my
Oh,
son
that's all
off
right.
at
I
the
was
car.
jogging this morning.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, we are taping because we're doing a book, and so we are taping. Is that all right? We
Yeah.
promise to quote you correctly, or you can opt out of our book if you want.
No,
Um,
yeah, that's fine.
so let me tell you what we're doing on Doug's with VUjade. He's from the Air Force, and he does these scores on your introvert, extrovert, your kinesthetic, auditorial, visual. I think you know something about it from the meetings you've been to. Uh, maybe not. Anyway, so would you be willing to do a Vuja Day score for free with Doug?
Oh, of course.
Take you about 15 minutes. And then
Yeah.
what we do is we put it on the screen. I don't know if you can see the screen, but this is Doug's scores in these
And David's
targets
score.
and
And
mine.
David's
Yeah.
score there. Yeah.
I'll
Those are
let
our
you
scores
say
Yeah.
right there.
something, Doug. Go ahead to explain what we're doing here.
Well, Cassandra, great to meet you. I don't know if I've met you in the previous sessions, unless you snuck in like a couple minutes after we really got going.
I think
But
maybe I saw you for 1 second one time. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. Well, just to introduce myself, yeah, former Air Force. I was in Tomahawk cruise missiles, ground launch cruise missiles, as a launch officer based out of Sicily and England. And then peace broke out with the Cold War. We won that, right? And then left the military at that point. So, and I've been in consulting. I lived around the world, not just England and Italy, but I've also lived in India for over 20 years with three startups there. So that's a little bit about me. Um, if you'd love to like take Vuja Day and get it checks your preferences in three areas, as David said. In sensory, which is what combination of kinesthetic, visual, auditory, it's how you experience the world and take in information and give it. The second construct is temperament. Do you tend to be more, what situations are you introverted or extroverted? And then the last one is cognitive. So do you like to process things and think about things first from the big picture, outcome, or from process, step by step, sequential? And that
Okay.
becomes important the way you interact with people, because that's our styles and how we like to communicate. And what VUjade shows you and can measure is in any of your relationships, if you have a connection to somebody else, like I have a connection here to David, then I can understand his style and align to his style more so I can be more effective in communication with them and interacting with them. So that's what VUjade does. That's simply what it is.
Okay.
But it has lots of insights from it. It's on a platform that's pretty revolutionary. So if you've ever done any kind of personality test like Myers-Briggs or DISC, they have a number of reports, but it kind of puts you into boxes. For example, DISC has 4 reports, 4 styles.
Yeah, I'm
Our
super familiar with all those. I've taken about 1,000 of them.
Perfect. So VUjade, in our individual reports, we have 9.85 trillion reports.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
it
it's
gets
more like
really
reality.
individualized. It's more, yeah, it tries to give a more realistic picture of a holistic picture of who the person is.
Sure.
So that's the quick little background on VUjade. I see we've got somebody else on here.
I think it's my guest from Turkey, and
Perfect.
she's going to present with a translator on in 2 weeks on Tuesday.
Oh, awesome.
Like
Great.
Me?
present.
No, excuse me. I'm from Russia.
Oh, you're
Um,
from Russia. You're not from
yeah,
Turkey. My
David.
bad.
Yeah, David, I've been on one of your workshops that you had Artyom Mushin-Makedonsky.
Hi.
Yeah, so I'm his how to say assistant, or I mean we work together. So I decided to join you again.
Okay, tell
That
us
was a long time
what
ago.
tell us about yourself. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm really sorry I can't switch my camera on because I have a really bad allergy and then just my eyes are red. So,
Oh,
uh
okay.
yeah, so but I can share. So, right now I am kind of like I'm sociologist and psychologist. And right now I'm deep diving into like organizational psychology and really interested in like corporate anthropology and using storytelling for corporate culture. And I think like the most interesting thing for me now is if storytelling or like techniques that are based on storytelling that we use with our tome are applicable for not applicable, like how important and is it important for small and medium-sized enterprises to work on their organizational culture, because like I see that there is lack of I don't see that much people or like much organizations who work with corporate culture offer those services to so small and medium-sized enterprises. But I'm really interested in working with them because I'm working with them now, but not in the corporate culture, not regarding to the corporate culture.
We're here to help you. So here's what you can do. You The answer to your question is yes. That stories are definitely part of small, medium, and large corporate cultures. And I taught small business storytelling
hmm
consulting for on 20 years. That's a little while. And corporate storytelling. And so you know that. Now, are you in the military? Have you ever been in the military or any of your family in the military?
No, nobody's in the military in my family, me neither.
Okay, we're going to have to tell you some non-military stories then. All right. So, do you have any hobbies? Do you have any hobbies? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, I like painting, oil on
Okay.
canvas. Yeah, that's what I recently started. Dancing also, and I like singing.
Okay.
Reading books.
Very good. So now Doug is going to tell you what your Vuja Day scores are based on those hobbies now. So
No, I'm not. Thank you very much. I can't tell you yours. But we'll talk through it. Cassandra, would you mind? Well, here, let me just kind of bring up a slide here. Let's just get
Hold on
started
one
here.
second. I'm just gonna grab a coffee really quick. Hold on.
No trouble. I'm
Yeah,
going to share my screen while you're doing that and kind of intro, and then we'll get to a little activity here that David mentioned. So, can David, can you see my screen here?
it's perfect.
Okay, so and I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. Is it Ekaterina? Is that correct, or is that I'm mispronouncing that?
Yes,
Ekaterina,
yes,
or
you're right. You're right. You can call me like Catherine if it's more comfortable for you. But
no? It's
in
okay. I get that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, like Yekaterina.
Yekaterina.
Yekaterina. Thank
Yes.
you very
Yekaterina.
much.
Yekaterina. Okay, got
Ekaterina.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, I
Sorry, I
hope you
missed
caught a
what you
little.
were.
No
I missed what you
trouble.
were saying. Are you starting with the other gal on the call?
No,
Yes.
we're just gonna start with everybody.
Oh, okay.
So I was doing a brief explanation of VUjade. It's a tool that helps you understand the ways you like to interact with in the world. And I'm one of the co-founders of it. And the word VUjade, by the way, means if if you've ever heard of deja vu, of course, is you walk into a place and say, "Gosh, I've been here before, but you really haven't been there before." VUjade is the opposite. It's something you see every day, but when you now step back into it, you see deeper meaning. So something familiar, but you look at it with an entirely fresh view. And that's what we're doing with this tool of communication. So a little bit about me, and I'm going to focus mostly on hobbies. Um, as I mentioned, I grew. This is my VUjade footprint over here on the right with my different scores. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Both of you, of course, are invited to do a complimentary version of VUjade. And I've been now doing, I've got to update my slide. I've been doing organizational development for 39 years. I grew up in Michigan, but I've lived around the world. And I'm going to focus on me, my hobbies. My hobbies, some of them include card collecting, concerts, cooking, love museums and art and concerts. And I've been involved with scouting. I love working with youth. And that's, I'm going to just move quickly because that's where we're going to focus today. And so here's our goal. We start with the end in mind here. And so what I'd like to do is kind of take you through an exercise connecting your hobbies through your VUjade preferences, because VUjade is not about what you can do, it's what you like to do. And then talk about the way you connect to other people.
Hmm.
And so, part of our work that David and I do when we work with veterans who have been experienced some kind of trauma is just help them uh, deal with that in trauma in a way, not us doing it, but letting them do it, but also helping them connect with their important relationships, their family, their friends. And I want to show how your hobbies reflect the way you like to connect to people. And so we're going to look at what are your hobbies? How do your hobbies get reflected in your VUjade core traits? And then how do you apply these to your relationships? That's our kind of little fun game and exercise we're going to do today. Any questions so far?
So good. I got a question. Okay, since you paused a long time.
Yeah,
Uh, so one of my hobbies was, well, the Boy Scouts. My dad
sure.
was a Boy Scout master. I was too young to be a Boy Scout, so I was a Cub Scout. I did go on one trip with the Boy Scouts, and but the only time I became a Boy Scout was I was living in Paris. I was 14 years old, and you could go on a trip down to the south of France where there were Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts in separate camps. So I signed up to be a Boy Scout for the one weekend to go on that trip. And then the people in my tent, we invaded the Girl Scouts camp.
Yeah, so that's
I
not a
think
good
I'm
thing.
outcome oriented, right? I don't think I got into the whole
No,
process of the
no.
hobby, right?
Yeah, well, that's the mistakes of youth right there, I think. So, yeah. So yeah, in fact, scouting now finally in America for about the last almost 8 years, yeah, has been both girl troops and boy troops together in the scouting. So
Oh,
it's no longer technically Boy Scouts anymore. It's finally there are just as many. Well, not there's quite a few girls. In fact, we started a troop out in Santa Cruz, or actually Scotts Valley, California. It's right near Santa Cruz. With on the first day that it was allowed. So we actually had a combined troop of girls and boys. But yeah, the sleeping
Oh.
arrangements obviously are separate. But we can talk about that later. But let me
Okay.
get into a. I know, Yekaterina, you mentioned your hobbies. Cassandra, what I'd like both of you to do is just, if you can, think through this or just jot it down. List at least three of your favorite hobbies. So we already got some of those. And then for
Hmm.
each of them, why is that your hobby, favorite hobby? What do you get out of that hobby? That's actually in many ways more important. So I'm giving you a couple moments for everyone, jot it down, think about it. Cassandra,
Dave
you look
said,
lost here.
I'm very lost. Let me just tell you how I really am, and you can tell me maybe how this works for me. And when you were describing VUjade, I was just thinking about how, like, this is how I do approach my communication with everybody. So maybe you're providing this template for people to do the thing that I feel like I already do.
Sure,
Um,
please.
but I think thinking about like quote unquote hobbies, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm a single mom getting a PhD. So like I don't know what you would define as a hobby. So I think that's like maybe where I need to start is like, what do you
Perfect.
consider a hobby, quote unquote, you know?
Yeah, so I totally get that because I was a single dad of four kids. So I understand time is of the essence. There are no hobbies, it feels like, when you're doing in that situation. But think back to, if and I put lots of my hobbies on hold for 8 years, 9 years, just because there was no time. Or I shared them with my kids. But what are the things that you choose to do? Is that getting into nature, backpacking? I mean, Yakaterina mentioned painting, dancing. Now, you may not get to do it now because of your current situation, but think about the things that you would do for enjoyment. Some people it's sport, some people it's reading.
Okay, yeah. So I think there's a little bit of conflation between what you're saying if a hobby is what I choose to do versus what I quote unquote have to do, because I have designed my life such that what I have to do is also what I would choose to do, other than like washing dishes. Thank you. So does that make sense what I'm saying?
It makes tons of sense. I've been there. So I mean, there's lots of things I did that I choose to do it, but it's not necessarily if I on my own by myself had a choice of what I'd like to do, this is what I would do. So we're looking for the like to do's here, not necessarily what you choose to do, because that leads more to a competency. Does that make sense for you? You may not get to do what you like to do right now, in
Does
truth,
it
because,
count? Well, no, I only ever do what I like to do. That's what I'm
oh,
saying. I think
excellent.
I maybe
Okay.
just love my life too much. So, like, is
Th-
hanging out with my kids a hobby?
Yes, it is. It
Okay.
absolutely is.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you love to do that, that's a great hobby. There's nothing, so that's perfect.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Also, yeah. Okay. So I mean, all my things are just things that I have to do, but they also are things I like to do.
there you
So
go.
I'll
Well,
go
then you've
with
got
it.
a nice life then. It's that
I
what you
do.
get to
It's really
do. Yeah,
amazing. I'm
there you
very
go.
blessed, Doug. I mean,
I
Dave knows
get
a
it.
little bit, but yeah, I don't do what I don't want to do,
Perfect. That's awesome.
except for wash
Okay.
dishes.
Yeah, I understand. So, figure out at least three favorite hobbies. And once again, the important thing here is why. What do you get out of it? Why do you get enjoyment out of that hobby or that activity? I'll throw it down as an activity since uh, I think hanging out with your kids is a great thing to do for you. So I'll give you one more minute to kind of think that through. If you're ready, just let me know. Raise your hand, whatever you're doing there. David, you got to do three too, as well. You told me one of them. We didn't get to explore one of them, or I didn't get to get some more questions, give
All
you feedback
right.
on that.
So I
Hold on a sec.
take,
Let me
okay,
just let everybody come up with them, and then we'll
you
I'm
start.
got it.
ready.
You got
I'm
it.
You
ready
ready?
also. I'm
Good.
ready.
David, are you
Yeah.
ready?
I'm always ready.
Awesome.
I feel
Yeah.
that way too, Dave.
Hi.
Hi,
So,
Katerina. It's good to see you.
sec first hobby was restoring old abandoned things like tools I find in the yard that have been rusted over. I'll go and retrieve them, fix them if I can. Nuts and bolts and screws that have been abandoned, uh, nails, whatever. So the second hobby is I take tin cans I find along the way that aren't too crumpled and or I drink bubblies, little fizzy waters, and I cut the top of the can off and I make flowers or I make butterflies with the metal, and then the third thing I do is I was going to say meditation. Just meditation is the kind of the thing I choose to do for myself every morning, and just and then running meditations too that I tape and make into book chapters. Those are my
Okay,
hobbies right now.
great. I'm going to come back to you, Yekaterina, just and I'm going to ask the second question to all of you as well. You said painting, drawing, singing, reading books. Is that accurate for your hobbies, or do you have some changes or additions or anything you want to add to that?
Me?
Yes.
Um, well, actually, I thought that I do like painting and dancing, but if you would ask me, like, if I have free time and someone asks me, like, what do you want to do now? I actually list other things. Like, number one on my list is coffee chats with my best friends. And then the second one is like reading, yeah, but I think like reading fiction, something with stories where can my mind can rest because when I'm reading nonfiction, well, I like reading nonfiction too, but sometimes like you have so many thoughts, and then when you find yourself reading a really good narrative, like I've been reading this book, The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. And yeah, so this like when I have really good narrative, my mind really finds a place to rest. And the third one is watching videos on YouTube on like psychology and health related topics. So I actually listed down these three.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Um, Cassandra, which three did you come up with
Yeah,
here?
so I'm trying to go down the more traditional path so we can do this exercise practically. So the first thing I would say is
By the way, it doesn't have to be traditional. By the way, your example you gave me of being with your kids is an awesome hobby.
okay.
That's the nice thing about VUjade. It is non-traditional. That's
Okay.
the
So then yeah, we'll just do that. Like I want to say relaxing with my kids. Like it's not an enjoyable thing when I have to chase my son around the softball practice. So that's not what I mean. I mean like just relaxing at home with my kids.
So what do you
Um
guys do when you relax at home? Just so I can
um
get a little bit more idea around that.
I'm just mostly like sitting there watching them like play. Basically, sorry, I might cry. I'm just a little drained right now. I just really love, for me, the reason why is because I get filled up by watching them enjoy themselves. I think like just like the little humans are like, they just, I'm just inherently happy about watching them because I'm their mom, or maybe just because they're so like unencumbered by life. And so that, and then another big one for me has been like recreational softball. And I think the big why for that is I have an unfortunate side to my personality where like I just really love using my capacity, both physical and mental, and to challenge myself, I guess. And so softball for me is more, it's not about me in the sense of I don't care about my team, but I think I really enjoy the practice of like pushing my body to its limits. I guess maybe like a professional athlete might feel. I'm not professional, but I wish that I was, that I could have gone to college softball or whatever, but I was just not there. And so, yeah, softball. And I think for the reason of like, I enjoy using what my body is capable of, and pushing myself to like improve those skills. Like I can finally hit triples, which is like a big deal in rec softball.
It is, yeah.
And then yeah, my third, I guess, I think when I'm just thinking about, there's a lot of relaxing. So I relate to sorry, I didn't read the name or hear it because there's all kinds of noise, but the other gal had mentioned about turning my brain off. That I think maybe the more we use our facilities, the more we can appreciate not using our facilities. And so I really enjoy, and this is kind of how it is to like spend time with my kids because they're like, their work, but they're not the kind of work that I'm doing when I'm doing academic research. So I guess maybe you could say the third hobby would be, and it's a good one because I share it with my daughter, painting fingernails, like doing my own manicure. And I also obviously enjoy her getting her own manicure for the same reason why I enjoy watching her play. But me, myself, and I think I know they've done studies on this, but like this kind of activity is very cathartic. So I do also like coloring and crochet for the same like cathartic benefit of sort of just like being in the moment, but not doing anything in the moment. For me, that would not be engaging in stories because that would get my mind going. That's what I do research on. But so the physical activity and the like sort of focus that it takes to do this is something that I know is good for me, and I also feel it while I'm doing it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just great descriptions from all of you on why you do things. Now, so let me kind of move us ahead a bit here then. So, why hobbies? And I'm going to come back to all this in just a moment. I want to just give a little bit of background on this. So, hobbies are generally done because they're a source of pleasure. I mentioned that before. We gravitate naturally towards them and they're fulfilling. So we have a reason why. Cassandra, to your point, even doing, your manicure with your daughter is almost like it's meditative. It gives you a chance to be in that moment. Um, and once again, everyone needs that kind of engagement in some way. The important thing to realize is we all do it differently. And so I want to hesitate as I'm talking here to say, I don't want to stereotype you. In fact, even the reason we do the same activities can be for different reasons. Let me give you an example. My business partner who just walked by behind me right here, Monty Miller, Dr. Monty Miller, he's waving. I've got headphones over.
Hi,
We're
Monty.
right now, we're right here up working at about 8,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains, Colorado. And Monty loves to ski. Now, I won't ask David this because he may know this story, but
Just a point, come off of your screen if you're just talking, because
yeah, let me do that.
most
Yep.
of the time you block out all the other people if you
Understand.
want
So I'm
interaction.
going to come out right now. So
Thanks.
Monty loves to ski. Now, if I asked either you, Cassandra, or you, Yekaterina, why do you think Monty loves to ski? What do you think he gets out of it? Just anybody who likes to ski. Why do you think they like to ski?
He counts the number of times he goes up and down the hill. He's an
Okay,
outcome guy.
he's an outcome guy. Could be, yeah, could be a reason. Why do you
I
think
mean,
people like to ski most of the time?
yeah, I think there is no most of the time, Doug. So I'm not going to be the best guinea pig for this. But if I had to say why, I think it could be very similar to why I like to play softball.
Okay, so you love the physical activity. There's a
Fresh
chance to
air.
the fresh air. Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good reason. Any additional thoughts?
Yeah, my idea is that's because it gives him a feeling of freedom.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
Go
I'll
downhill.
add, yeah, I'll add, you're in touch with your death because when I go down skis, it's go. You know,
And once again, so there's kind of the thrill, the feeling of living on the edge. That's now if I describe each of those, once again, and they're all right. Those are great reasons why people ski, but they're slightly different in many ways. Cassandra, to your point, that's very kinesthetic. Really love that. Getting out in the fresh air, that might be something of introverted. It depends how much he skis. That's the other question he has. Does he do it in a group of people and there's engagement, or is it more of just, hey, I just want to be by myself and get that kind of meditative feel? Uh, David talked about, going down straight down the hill. So there's the living at the edge sort of thing. That's kinesthetic as well. Um, Yekaterina, you talked about, that feeling of freedom there as well. So, I mean, that could be a lot of different things. And that kind of relates to Monty. But Monty's reason for for skiing is not the kinesthetic piece. He's not necessarily he likes skiing, but he has to go there to for the feelings. He goes up there for the view. He loves to see huge vistas. That's who he is, and he's highly visual, and that drives his visual. It does not drive his kinesthetic. And once again, it's not right or wrong, it's his reason, which is why I asked your reasons for this. So our natural thing to do is think, oh, let's stereotype a person because if they like skiing, they have to love physical activity. That isn't the reason for him. So that's what VUjade starts to show. So the why becomes important. So as I give you feedback about how these might lead to your VUjade scores, realize every circumstance is different. And when both of you actually get a chance to do VUjade, it's about 10, 15 minutes as a survey. And I'll demonstrate some of it here a little bit later after we talk. Then you'll start to see that, okay, it's not just understanding how they are different in that situation, but then how do I need to relate to them in those situations? What drives their behavior? So you start to ask them these detailed questions about why do you enjoy doing that? And that's why I asked yours. So let's start talking a little bit about yours. So if I'm going to bring up VUjade here, so you can see what it looks like. And just to illustrate, I'm just going to pull up my score really quickly. And I'm hoping you can see. So this is kind of our little short cheat sheet. And you'll notice right here, there's an acronym. And it says, I am KV, capital K, capital V, small a, capital I, capital O. You don't have to remember any of this. All this stuff is available on your phone, computer, whatever. So that's the nice thing. You never have to remember any of this. It's all available all the time. It's not like something you remember, put in your drawer. So I am integrated kinesthetic and visual as my sensory. So at times I'm kinesthetic, at times I'm visual. Both are important to me. And I'm not that far off on auditory. Those are our sensories. And so to give you my description of me, and everyone is different. For me, when I take in information, when I'm kinesthetic when I learn. So I have to do it to really learn well. But I become visual when I'm creative. And so what I mean by that is, well, I'll actually be both. I'll start pacing back and forth or go for a walk, and that pushes noise out of my head. And then all of a sudden, I can get creative. So I will draw pictures. I'll draw flowcharts when I'm coming up with ideas and being creative. And so that kind of relates to, Cassandra, what you talked about. You know, when you are, doing your manicure, you're doing an activity, but that kind of pushes noise out of your head right there so you can actually relax. That goes to the next one, which is temperament. So, and for me, it's the same. If I do those activities, that pushes noise out of my head so that I can do it. As you were talking about it, Yekaterina, you were talking about, reading is almost, I heard you say the words reading is almost meditative for me. It's how I can actually relax. And so that moves us into the next one, which is temperament. Introverts, get two key things about introverts. One, it's really where you get your source of energy. Do you get it from interacting with people? That's David, by the way. Very strongly, David. He gets in energy from interacting with people, gets him ideas, gets him creative. It actually helps him relax. Or do you need to, after a day with people, you just need to kind of step back and say, okay, that was good. I like interacting with them, especially large groups. But then I need to kind of just let my mind relax in those situations. So as I heard both of you talk, even recreational softball, as I heard you speak, Cassandra, it's almost meditative in what you do. It's where you get into flow. Yeah, that physical activity there. So kinesthetic is what I heard there. You like to be kinesthetic. And that all of a sudden gets you into the game. It wasn't as much the team, not that you don't like the team and like interacting with them. You said that you really loved, just being out there and being able to focus on playing the game. That's the same what I heard with you, with Yekaterina, with both your, let's see, you had coffee chats, You like to do the bits on psychology. I have to ask lots of questions around that on YouTube. But the fiction piece certainly came out there as an introverted activity. It's where you regain energy. Even your meeting with your friends, do you meet with a small group, like two, three, even five or six, or is it?
You know, like I would definitely call myself an extrovert, and I think when I read, it's actually I feel like I am getting connected to the characters, and it's as if I'm a part of a of what's happening. It's like it's
Interesting.
also a part of socializing, to be honest.
Really? Okay, I've
Yeah.
never heard that one from someone before. So that's fascinating. I love it. So, and that's where we need to actually. So when you go out and coffee chats, how often do you meet with your friends?
Well, we meet like I think once a week for sure. I really would like it to be more than that because I really do. It does feel meditative too. Just have we have very deep conversations most of the time we have a coffee chat. So that's what I would say. I would like to do more of those coffee chats, but we are
Okay.
all busy too. Yeah.
What about dancing? You mentioned that one as well. Is that like a personal, or
Yeah.
is it going out dancing with a group of people or being in a crowd and just enjoying that?
I'm dancing with a team and yeah, I'm not like in the core team, but I really do enjoy I do enjoy when I'm dancing. I do enjoy the feeling of getting better in it. I also like watching myself dancing in a mirror because that's how I connect with myself. But also if it's a I would say like a dance for the whole crew. I do like to connect through dance with those with people, but we mostly, learn different movements and like on our own, just in one room. So for me, dancing here is more of like an individual activity. Even though I'm with a
Okay.
group, it's more of like my connection with myself.
Interesting. Okay. So and once again, just and Cassandra, I'm going to get back to you in just a moment. But I want to understand, where do you get your energy from? Is it with the interactions, yeah, and or time by yourself? It can be both, by the way, because that's for you, Yekaterina. Where do you get your energy from?
Me?
Yes. Is it with
I
being with
think both.
people or being by yourself or both? Okay. So, because as
I
I
would
heard you
go for
saying,
both. Yeah,
okay,
especially it's like, when I haven't been around people for a long time, I would get the energy from people. When I'm with other people for too long or like for all the time, I would get energy from individual activities. So it shifts.
okay, okay. I'll ask the same question to you, Cassandra. Energy. I think I know where you got, but
Yeah.
I just want. It sounds
Extra.
like you get it from your small groups, being by yourself more. Do you get energy from other people? And we all do. But where do you
No,
get primary? Yeah,
no,
you're
no.
okay.
I have been plagued by being pegged as an extrovert my entire life, only to finally realize at 30 something years old that actually that's not what I am. But because I enjoy very much, because my mind needs activity, I enjoy the stimulation and the depth and the connection of like a coffee chat like she was describing. um People have just called me an extrovert my whole life, but what they don't realize, which now I do realize, so the amount of time I spend by myself is significantly higher than any time I spend with people. And in fact, less time with people would be good for me because I do engage so deeply with it. Like, I would say I'm a very embodied person. If I'm in here with you, Doug, even though I slept 5 hours, I'm going to be in here with you 100% and I'm going to engage with it and enjoy it. But then, like, when I go home, my head hurts and my eyeballs hurt. You know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean. That
yeah,
I'm an introvert as well. I
yeah,
totally get what you mean. I'm exhausted at the end of the day if I'm in meetings all day, and I just need to.
yeah,
I literally get home and I have to lay down for 10 minutes just to
yeah,
recover. So I
yeah.
go,
Like
you know,
the best description is like this job market thing. How I go for this entire day of talking to people, and I feel like I'm ruining my interviews because by the time I meet with whoever I meet with at 1 p.m., they're like, "How are you? How are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm really tired." You know, like
I
I
do know.
can only
I
say that by the time I've talked with five other people about the same thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I totally get it. I understand. I That's why, I actually live out near Monterey Bay, 4 blocks from the beach. So that's why I live on near 28 miles of beach on the Pacific Ocean. And, my colleague Monty, who's even more introverted than me, lives up at 8,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains because, yeah, both of us at times have to get away just to kind of recover and get the energy back. Because, we're in a profession where we do lots of teaching, learning, training, so it's hard. David, I haven't given you a chance to speak, and then we're going to move on
Oh, I want to
to
follow on with
VUjade. So,
Cassandra. So if you need a recommendation, I give great recommendations for people who want jobs, you know. I even give them a money back guarantee, you know. I recommend Cassandra. So I want to talk about because I'm typed as an extrovert, but I grew up introverted, totally introverted. It was don't talk, don't be seen in the household. But then when I got into teaching, I had to teach in front of a group, and then I was terrified, just terrified. I didn't even speak outside of the classroom. I had to speak, I would speak, and I'd leave. You know, it was bad. I mean, I was just very silent. I never even spoke in high school. Now that I speak all the time for audiences, I got that down. In fact, you put me in a room with more people, like 1,000 people. I'm excited. I'll be jumping up around, down. I'll be telling stories, running through the audiences, shaking hands. You know, I'm like excited. Zoom, it's a little different. I can't get through the screen, but I would say, like Cassandra, I get typed as that, but most of my time during the week, I'm alone. I'm with my wife for the times she'll talk to me, and we're riding our horses, we're with our horses, we're with the dogs, we're outside. You know what I mean? I got more intimacy with this rock mostly than I do with an audience, you know? So I like Cassandra's answer, so I just wanted to throw that in. So what's your question to me?
so David, I just want to step back and you don't have to share anything if you don't want to share. You
I'm
mentioned
okay
that
sharing.
as I know you are, but I just always want to give you that opportunity. So, at a younger age, you said it almost sounded like you were forced to be isolated or introverted, and they're not the same
Well,
things, but
let's just say scared to death. We hid in the cupboard,
yeah.
as children, you
So,
know.
so as I hear you talk about that, that's traumatic. There's no question about that. There's trauma associated with that. And it sounds like as you moved into teaching in college, that trauma manifests itself because now you
Oh,
were going to speak
huge.
to people. So you were used to that. But somehow and so what I want to point out right there is you the trauma and the way you felt about it, and then how you felt about it later, that you love interacting with people and thousands of people, is that you couldn't be authentic in your youth, but you feel more authentic
I
today,
don't
particularly
know.
when you interact with people. And that's what I want you to comment on.
It's like the gates open, and I'm going to be me because I tried being somebody else and it didn't work. I found it
Mm,
didn't work. Not being me didn't work. Trying to imitate a professor, trying to do this. My way. I'm going to jump in. When my dad taught me to swim, it's not my recommended way to treat children. He took me at the edge of the dock, and threw me into the lake. I was 6 years old, and because I had that near-death experience at 3, it's
right.
almost drowning. But he got me through it. But I learned I'm in a big audience. Either I can freeze or I can go for it. Those are the two choices. If I play it shallow and I'm more internally focused on my head inside my head than I am on the audience, it's a failure. I have to be there with that audience in sensing what's going on and reacting, sensing, reacting. And when I hide
And
behind PowerPoints, they're terrible. It's terrible.
yeah.
If
So how
I just go with here's my story, here's what I'm seeing, how are you? Boom, boom, interact. It's golden, you know?
oh, okay. So I'm going to use you, David, here to kind of transition if that's okay, because those are great stories there.
I have a
So
question. I have a question
yeah,
about Dave's reflection because I feel like Doug, you still didn't ask him, and I'm wondering if you know
I,
where he's
I,
getting the energy from.
well, I can share that, and I've watched David a lot, so I'm going to kind of
Okay, okay.
um, I've because David and I have been now working together for quite a few months, and he's the light. Um, and what I want to show you is some of those differences. In fact, I'm going to jump into this a slightly different way. The team that Dave and I are part of a team that hosts these First Fridays. We have an amazing woman, Tanya Akins Kane, who's part of our team. And we're actually at the present writing a book. So I'm going to bring up some information in VUjade, and I'll make it bigger. So if you can't see it, say, Doug, I can't see it. And so the information's coming up right now. And this is what, by the way, what makes VUjade different, because we measure so precisely as a tool. In previous tools like Myers-Briggs or DISC, it gives you information about yourself, and it kind of broadly tells you how to connect to people. VUjade is really precise in doing that. So what you're looking at right here, right, is a quadrant chart. The y-axis is your temperament. Introvert is at the bottom, extrovert at the top. The x-axis is your cognitive. Oops, sorry. Let me bring that back down. I just slid it over. Process on the left, outcome on the right. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make just a little smaller. We can see it. Can you guys still see this right here? There's 3
Yeah.
dots. This one here is David.
Yay.
This one here is me. And this one here is Tanya. Now, if we were just meeting, what VUjade looks at it says, well, first off, what's the amount of effort you need to put into connecting someone? Because if you tend to be different than someone else, you have to put much more effort in. Because your styles are different. Makes sense? That's pretty straightforward. The wonderful thing to realize is once you overcome that, you can bridge those gaps. And VUjade helps you do that by understanding those differences and how you need to interact to align with that person. What you find is tremendous synergy. And so actually, initially, if you're further apart, and our team is incredibly far apart on this, the more you're further apart, the harder it is to first connect. But once you connect, incredible creativity, incredible innovation. And so in this case, let me pull up David and make him the center of the world here, because he is. And VUjade allows you to look at that and see it through David's eyes, how he sees the world. And I'm going to pull up myself here. And so you'll see on the sensory right here, VUjade doesn't only measure the differences in styles, it measures the differences within styles, because we've been able over the past 10 years to be actually look at, if you're in this one area, your behavior is slightly different than another area and another area. So David here, out here, he is kinesthetic. That's a primary for him as well. So he's primarily kinesthetic, secondary auditory, and tertiary, quite a ways out on his visual. And so, David was talking about, I like to tell stories. I don't want to hide behind a PowerPoint. That I hear, this is pretty close. That's his auditory coming out. David's definitely a doer when you heard all his activities. I like to restore things. I like to make flowers or butterflies with, scrap metal I pick up. As for me, I mentioned I'm integrated kinesthetic visual, and I'm also I'm very highly auditory as well. So that's how we experience the world. As we go in here, and that's not reflected in this chart, it's just reflected in this graph right here. But as we go in here now, you can start to see the difference. David is extremely extroverted. I like to call him the popcorn man, because he loves to interact with people. And I call him popcorn because also how he mixes his cognitive style. And you can see I'm highly introverted. And there are narratives down here to help you understand it. The FAQs help you understand as well. But just to connect to what he was just saying right there is David realized that he likes to be with people. Now, David's what I call a conscientious extrovert. He could very much be a narcissist in this. That would be a
Ah.
no, you're not. Absolutely not.
Oh, maybe
And
I
so
am.
it, no, you're not. And it could be about David could make it all about himself. Being so extreme out on the extroverts. By the way, introverts can be narcissists as well. Just for you, to cover the psychological piece right there. But and the behaviors are slightly different. It's kind of more of a passive aggressive thing with an introvert. But for David, as a conscientious extrovert, what I've seen in his behaviors is he loves to be with people. He likes to talk. He likes to, get the dialogue going with them. But the moment he gets a group going, he will happily step back because now he's got the energy that he brings to any situation, his popcorn, that he's all over the place with ideas and let's do this, and the energy that comes out of that he transfers it to the group and lets the group take over. And if the group starts to slow down or fumble, he'll jump back in and put some inputs in there. So that's the way David reflects that. He was even talking about horseback riding, and he talks about he loves to do it with Grace Ann, his wife. And so there's kind of it's a need to want to connect with people all the time. That's a strong extroverted, behavior right there. If I look at his cognitive, and once again, he is extremely outcome oriented. So David, if you've ever worked with David, I don't know if you have. I love working with David, but I won't say that it's not challenging. He has tons of ideas. By the time I come up with one idea, he has 7 of them out there. And that's just the way his mind works. Now, I would think that would frustrate a lot of people. But what
It
now that I know
does.
that this is David's style compared to my style, so this is all relative, I just give him grace and let him go. Let him go all over those ideas. And then, I will slowly bring him back. Tanya's wonderful in the process. She also realizes it, but she's very confused by this popcorn kind of thing. So she will tell David, okay, David, slow down. Let's take this and connect the dots
Let
here.
me give you an example. Can I give you an example?
Please
So,
do.
so yesterday we got my hair done, Grace Ann got her hair cut and I got my hair cut. But I'm writing a book on ego and I'm trying to do the karmic thing, like Cassandra does the Buddhism, I do Jainism. And so I want to remove these karmic particles of ego. So I said, well, I think I love my hair, so I think I'm going to have it all cut off. Just go crew cut this time. And then Grace Ann's looking like, you're going to cut the hair off? And the lady stylist going, you're going to cut the hair off? And there's an older woman there. She's 82. She says, yeah, cut it all off. Cut it all off. I'm going to stay and watch this. So now I'm into it. I'm going to have all the hair cut off. And
Are
then,
you really going to cut your hair?
well, that's what Grace Ann was saying. And then Grace Ann said, look, David, just because you're writing a book on ego doesn't mean you've got ego hair. It's okay to like your hair. Doesn't mean
So
you have to cut it all off.
So I have a follow-up for that because in the at the monastery that we go to, they the girls and the boys, when they like become an ordained practicer of the Buddhism, like the teacher, so I think it's a monk, they do have to shave their head. I don't know if they have to or it's like customary practice. I mean, there's no have to in Buddhism. But I think I love that you said that because I've thought about that too before, but I feel like I think I'm in the grace and like let's do 90% because I think it's okay. As long as you don't become the person that's like, I'm better than you because look at my hair, I think it's kind of okay.
I do with my sons because they're both bald. Like baldness skips a generation in my genes. So, and I say, Dad, I'd really like to have that hair. I say, yeah, I know. So it's a way of interacting with my sons. My daughter has
Yeah.
long blonde hair. She looks beautiful all the time. I don't know. I'm keeping the hair. It's like Samson. They cut it off. I lose my energy. So no, I'm just kidding. But I am working on the ego thing because there's so many different kinds of egos that I have
Mhm.
karmically to get to jettison to understand but I understand in Buddhism there's kind of an ego too, the ego to commit to doing the karmic work, you know? It takes a certain
I mean,
amount of
I think,
ego.
well, I think that you can apply and maintain your ego with any activity that you do in life. So I
Okay.
think I feel like ego is more about I think the only way you have no ego is if you have no self. And I don't think, maybe Doug, sorry, will pull back to this. I think that if you have no self, then a lot of this stuff is not a thing for you because you're just functioning as an energy being. So I feel like I love when you talk about ego a lot, but I do think there is a reality that like it's more about how you relate to your ego than it is the having or not having of one. So it depends
Oh,
on if you're using your ego as the base of reaction and you're using your ego as the base of judgment, as opposed to just having the ego, right? Like, I'm a great mom, guys. I don't know if you knew that, but like, I'm like pretty epically great. Okay. Everyone loves my kids. They're so
that's
cute, you know?
beautiful.
Okay. But it becomes a problem if I say like I'm so much better than my best friend and my kids are so much cuter than hers and they're so much better behaved, right? Like so that's where ego becomes problematic and it's difficult to manage, which is why you say you just want to get rid of all of it because it's hard to manage the balance where you're still being
Ah,
humble and you're
balance.
still being yeah, yeah. So you
So,
kind of go in and out of it.
So
Okay,
Cassandra, to that
in and
point,
out.
that in many ways is the point around VUjade. Since you've
Yep.
talked about doing disc, what disc does is it puts people into a box, and so you start treating them that way. What
Mm-hmm.
happens with VUjade? We have over 1,000 people so far, and this is still in beta. We're just finishing up our full beta. We have over 1,000 people there. Not a single person has the same score.
Nice.
Everybody is different. And so what
Which is true.
yeah, if you really look at the holistically at a person, every person is different in some way. Yeah, we
Yep.
share some commonalities, but when you put the whole piece together, we're all different. And once again, we're only looking at really the way we communicate and collaborate here. There are other factors as well that play into our our behaviors, and this is a behavioral assessment, not a personality assessment, because we even see in different situations we behave differently. We see some elasticity in the way we're introverted or extroverted. With some people that you may act more extroverted because you have greater trust there. You can come to that situation with more authenticity. And so, when you talk about, our ego getting in the way, we want to present ourselves because when we can be authentic with another person, there's more psychological safety in that situation. And so that,
Yep.
think about the phrase, how many times in your life have you said to a person, well, do you really want to know the truth? And then you told it to them. It's really rare that that happens. The more you can do that, the more you're being authentic, but there's a trust situation that goes on there. Can you trust them to appreciate your viewpoint, your perspective, can appreciate who you are? And that has, when you talk about ego getting in the way, like I'm a better mother than you, well, that's judgmental. That's not our goal here. I would say you're a different mother than someone else, and that doesn't judge them, that they have their points as well, and you can honor and give them grace in those situations. You can honor the way they're a mother. So each of us comes to it being authentic, not judging it. And that's what VUjade is about. Because when you can do that, that's when the magic happens. When people can actually be authentic, they feel more engaged. They're free to talk about. We actually get to more trust and better communication between people. And so that's kind of what this is right here. And then I'm going to bring hobbies all back to this and then just really open up for lots of questions, but don't hesitate to ask questions and stop me at a
So
point. So I think David,
I
yeah,
saw Ekaterina nod before. So I saw her nodding when you went the in and out. You can go in and out of something rather than it being typecast, you know. And I really
yeah.
like that about Vujade. Did you want to say anything? I was giving you an opening. So
Thank you, David.
He was calling you out.
Uh,
it's another way to put it. Yeah.
That's what I really like. I know about disc, and I even read a book, but this is a really cool thing that you can like you get how to say there's a more like spectrum of where you're standing, and it's just one like I would say like in disc you're still measuring it, you're just not getting the precise measurements, and that's the problem when like there might be someone who's also like in the red and you're in the red, but you're far away from each other in that red, which creates a lot of differences, but that are neglected when we don't measure that precisely. Yeah,
I'm gonna, yeah,
I also like
yeah,
what
go, keep
Cassandra
going.
said about the way we like treat our ego is what is crucial, because I also think that sometimes we are like because like in the culture in our culture it's like being the I would say when you act out of your ego, or when you're egocentric, that tends to be seen as like a bad thing, and so sometimes you would turn against yourself, like for me for example, yeah, if you see that you're acting egocentric, and I think that's what like gets you in the loop of staying there because you're judging yourself, and then you're getting into the repetition of those behaviors again. And so I think like this attitude towards your ego is like just something that you have and it's normal, so that you're not judging yourself and not getting in the loop of where your ego is controlling you because it makes you blame yourself.
Mhm.
Phenomenally well said in both cases here. And to your point about the differences within the same construct, for us that's been really important because, for example, my partner and I are both introverted, but there are times, for example, he's more introverted than me, and he's in a different zone. He's actually past two standard deviations. That's what each of these zones are. It's all relational, and so I'll even expand it a little bit more here. If you look at my VUjade, I'll show you all the teams that I'm involved with. So these are all the teams. You can have unlimited teams. So as this comes up, and you see it's taking a moment because I have lots of groups I'm involved with. And it's not just me interacting with each of these individuals right here. It's actually, or each of these groups, every group is different. That dynamic is different. So, for example, my business partner is more introverted than I am. So there are times when I'll ask a question, and initially I was almost exhibiting extroverted behaviors. I threw out the question to him, and he would stop and pause because introverts kind of have to take time to process. David's great at just brainstorming. That's what extroverts love to do. Brainstorm. I get this. Oh, that's good. And what if we did this? And what if you do this? If you work with David, it's amazing to do that. It's like a brainstorming session. It's really energizing. But after about 10 minutes, I get tired of it because I'm an introvert.
Thank
So
you for your honesty, Doug.
hey,
So,
it is. But
Doug,
I can't keep brainstorming forever.
Doug, I'm so sorry. I have to jump off because I do have to prepare for trying to get a job like I was talking about. But
Yeah.
please
can
send
I
me.
do one thing before you go? I wanted to show you my poem,
Oh,
Cassandra.
your poem. I saw your poem. You sent it in the email, right?
Yeah, I might have. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you want to share it, go ahead.
Yeah. Can I do that, Doug?
Yeah, and just to let you know, Cassandra, I put my email address in the chat. So if you want to try VUjade, you have a complimentary version of VUjade for yourself to try and do your score. So just email me. So I'll hand back to
Okay.
David here.
Okay. So I'm doing a book. This chapter's on the four gangsters. So this is only the second poem I've written in my life. Well, the third, actually. I wrote one a long time ago. Anyway, stories ego gangsters tell. So the gangsters are like plasters. When anger lingers, I turn friends into cankers. When pride arrives, I become snide. When greed beckons, write one more book. I am agreed. When deceit comes, I pretend to be elite. The gangsters are such pranksters. Anger promises release when I swagger. Pride blinds me to what I hide. Greed says only one more beer is all I need. Deceit laughs when I am genuine, then retreats. Together the gangsters are angsters. Anger fishes for my rancor. Pride sets a trap for my suicide. Greed hunts me till I bleed. Deceit creeps in unseen without a receipt. Of the gangsters, deceit is my conceit. Deceit never retreats. Deceit, I'm standing on your throat. You bleep like sheep. My body keeps score in my leg cramps. Each deceit I leave concrete. Deceit stomps my spirit while I surrender. Deceit preys on my street while I pray. Deceit prays and repeats. Stop when each gangster from plastering your living story into disaster. Anyway, that's my thing.
Incredibly deep, David.
Sounds like you, David.
Really? Yeah, that's what I've
Yeah.
been going for. Yeah. But that, yeah, I don't know if you were in Elizabeth Bridges' session the other day. She says she gave me the bug to create a new hobby of writing poetry in my writing. So I don't
Well,
know.
it's a nice way to express yourself, I think. And I know you are always hating your egos, your gangsters.
Your demons, your demons that you have
Yeah,
that,
well,
that
I'm
all of us
watchful
share.
for
I
them. I'm
think
learning
I
to
think
spot them now. I'm learning to spot them. Yeah.
yeah, I think taking a page from Ekaterina, how do I say your name?
Yeah, Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Ekaterina?
Katerina.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Like
you're
take a page
pronouncing it
from
right.
her book. Yeah. Well, I'm like, take a page from her book because what I always say is like self-compassion is the hardest form of compassion to give. And I think once, David, you start loving and laughing at your egos, then you know you've conquered them, you know? But I think
You're
the
muted,
anger is
David.
a
That's okay.
good,
Carry
I
on.
think the anger is it's a good transition into eventually getting to that point.
Well, for veterans, a lot of us have the anger thing,
Yep.
Yeah.
or just
Yeah.
I
growing
mean,
up.
I
Go
No,
ahead.
I think I have a lot of well, I don't know. I wonder what Doug would say about because I say like people have a certain degree of like capacity for rage. Like there's a certain disposition for it because I feel like I don't have it like on a spectrum. I'm probably pretty low, but I definitely have it, and like I can see that both of my kids have it, and I just
Uh,
think some people maybe don't have it or they don't yeah, they just like don't have it. So I'm curious about what Doug would say about that because I think
I
that
think
sometimes does get in the way of communication.
Well, I think I can speak for myself. Compared to many other veterans, I'm incredibly fortunate. I don't have a lot of rage and anger. I've been able to process any of it, but I think how we process it is different. So because I'm
Hmm.
introverted, I hold in a lot of that anger. And so, I think about it, if you're talking about like Buddhism or that, it's deep in my third chakra. So if I think about it that way, I have it all right there, and that's where I've held it, and I've worked to get rid of it through there. So
Yeah,
I think how we process it, when we think of anger, we think of people just having rage, but we can have internal rage as well. And so it
yeah,
depends how you manage. So my gut is, you probably process it or have it more internally and don't exhibit it as much externally because that's not a need for you. That's not your style. But it doesn't mean you don't
mm,
have it. And certainly we're all on a different spectrum of how much we either
hmm.
express or we hold. But both are an expression of some kind of trauma. And I'm learning you don't even have to be in the military. All of us have traumas in some ways in our
oh
lives.
yeah. Well, and what you're
Every single
saying is a
person I meet.
really yeah, what you're saying is a really interesting concept because like yeah, I definitely do wonder about like exactly to your point like because it doesn't seem like it ever manifests, is it ever there? And I do believe that I don't know, maybe just because I'm me, but I'm like, I kind of believe that like screaming it out is like healthier
Me
because then
too.
it
Me
goes
too.
out. But this is like energy in, energy out. So I actually teach my daughter, yeah, I teach my daughter to scream, like to just scream and just yell,
Mhm.
like if she's having a hard time, because I think
Uh,
she goes more to what you're saying, which is like bottling it. Yeah. And then I'm like, no. And she feels even weird about screaming it. But I'm like, but if you scream, you're dissipating some form of energy. And I think when you
Exactly.
try to do angry, yeah, so it's really interesting, but I love your comment because I can only ever be me, and so like this personality test is really cool to me because like I do try to have an infinite perspective approach to how I understand people and relate to them. So I really appreciate that. It seems like that's what you're trying to do is create a tool that can help other people sort of have this mentality, which I think leaves, like you say, a lot more space for like so in some ways boundless creativity, this real idea that 1 plus 1 is more than two. Ronnie
Okay.
and I have that with each other, and we're very different in a lot of ways. And I think that that comes from being able to be open to the infinite number of ways that people exist. So I
Exactly.
appreciate it.
Let me do something here. Cassandra, your brilliant dissertation, and she did defend her dissertation, Ekaterina,
Oh,
and I want to say it's on a Russian author named Mikhail Bakhtin that you can read about. And if you haven't read
Yeah,
about
Yes.
him,
of course I know because you know, I did my master's degree and we of course learned about him as well.
oh yeah, so she did it on the
Yeah.
chronotopes in
Mhm.
corporate cultures, et cetera, and
Mhm.
she's got a wonderful dissertation and gives a great presentation if you ever want it.
I would love
Someday.
to. I would love to see it. Yeah, I
Oh
would
yeah,
love
I
to see
mean,
it
I'm
someday.
happy to send it to you. Ronnie and I have a
Please.
manuscript out for friendly reviews, so that might be a little easier to digest than the full dissertation. So I'm happy to send it over. Just let me know who
Well,
wants it.
well, well. David has been teaching me about Bakhtin. I haven't. He introduced me, so I'm fascinated.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's really, I like to say I'm really trying to make these abstract philosophers like accessible. So I try to use this just a more, I guess, contemporary approach, maybe is what you might
Mm.
call it.
Or make it
But
relevant to
anyway,
today.
so I do have to go. Sorry, we keep getting on tangents. But Doug, I
No
appreciate
trouble.
your time, and then I'm happy to do that survey for you.
Appreciate
And
it. Thank
good
you.
luck with everything.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you
I'm
for
happy to
having me.
debrief you too. You bet.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.
Oh well, if you have to go, yeah, you can go. Oh, you're talking to Cassandra. I'm sorry.
No, no,
Good.
yeah, yeah.
You can stick around. So the last piece I'll talk about, and then we'll bring it all to kind of a close on hobbies here. Oops, David, you're speaking. I can't hear you. I love
Katrina,
watching your
get
mouth
us
move.
your email to Doug in the chat so he'll he can
Yeah,
send you the test.
for some reason I think the chat is closed for me. I can't chat, but I will
Oh,
Yeah, you
if you
can
open
chat
it
to
for me.
me. You can chat to me directly.
do you see my email in the chat? Doug at
Oh yeah,
VUjade.ai.
now I
Yeah.
see.
So
Yeah,
That went to
yeah.
I
So
everyone. Yeah,
you can
send
just
it
email to
there.
me. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that'll be
I'll
So
good.
I can send it. So I can only send here in Zoom. I can only send direct messages to either David or you, Doug. So
send to me, and I'll send you an invitation to do this complimentary survey. So if you just send it to me, that's great. So let me share the last piece of about VUjade. Well, actually, it's not the last. There's lots more, but the last piece I'd like to cover is you can see up here. I have David, Doug. I'm the red dot here on the left, and David. And on the left chart shows the amount of effort and potential synergy I have with David or Tanya. So you'll see these numbers right here.
I
Let
don't
me
think you're sharing, but maybe you are. I don't
Oh, maybe I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm not sharing. I apologize.
know.
So we're
That's
back.
okay.
We're in something called the effort chart. And this matches up with the quadrant chart. I just want to make it a little bit smaller here to give you the first full view. And this is comparing once again myself and David. And we can compare anybody. We can put Tanya in this team that we have here. Once again, no limits on teams. We can have hundreds of people here if we want to. So on the left chart here, this is looking at from my point of view. And so in this circumstance, it says the longer the gray bar, the more effort that I have to make to connect to that person. And so in this case, you'll see Tanya is 3.57. That's a combination of all three factors: sensory, temperament, and cognitive. And David's more, 5.19, which, by the way, neither of those are incredibly high scores, even though we look far apart. And in this circumstance, when I look at David, so I've selected him, now on the right, it gives me three choices of how to connect. So in this case, I'm going to align to David. So David doesn't have to change. I'm going to do everything because I want to be effective with David. I want to connect with him. And so it helps me understand. And now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so I can just zoom out on this a bit. It helps me understand that if I'm going to connect to David, whenever we're interacting, we should try to be kinesthetic. And so I love working with David while we're writing. We had a great session last week where we're all just, adding and contributing together. That's kind of a kinesthetic activity, even though it's virtual. The next one's going down. It tells me, I could try to connect these ways, but it isn't the most efficient way to do that. When I look at the introvert to extrovert, that right there says that's a large area right there because I'm an introvert. He's extremely extroverted. And then outcome, even though we're both outcome, we're still quite a ways apart. So what VUjade tells you is, as we look at these three bars right here, anything that's less than 1.0, so you see this is 0.0, I just have to be aware of it. Okay, David and I, whenever we interact, we need to be kinesthetic together. That's all I have to do. If it's more than one, but less than two, where one triangle comes up, it tells me, okay, when I'm going to interact with David, and by the way, when we're just implementing it with Google Calendars. So if I have this appointment with David, it pops up and tells me all these things automatically. In my Google Calendar, I have a link and get it very quickly. But it tells me that, okay, I need to kind of, before I interact with David, most of us, knowing this, I would say, okay, David's extroverted. So, if I want to align with David, I should be kind of like brainstorming ideas because that's where David gets his energy. He brings his innovation to that. He's going to feel more aligned to me when I do that. And this isn't to manipulate him. It's just, I want to have a great conversation. And when there are two triangles here, more than two, this is when it gets tough. So that's when you have to stop and say, I have to have a sustained effort. I have to kind of keep reminding myself in my head, David's extroverted, so I have to let him get that out. He's going to want to talk about this because he's going to want to connect. He's not, when I throw out ideas, he's going to want to brainstorm because that's the way he likes to work. Whereas I actually like to sit back, reflect. And in fact, I tell David at times, give me a moment, let me think about this. Or, you know what, let me sleep on it and we'll come back and talk about it tomorrow. We'll connect tomorrow about it because I'll have more thoughts about it. That's the way my brain processes. Not good or bad, just different. And so now I know coming into a conversation, don't worry about the kinesthetic, focus on the introvert extrovert. And secondarily, look at, even though we're both outcome, David, I look at the world at about 10,000 feet. David looks at the world at about 80, so I'll say 60,000 feet.
60,000
feet. Yeah, so he has a different perspective. So sometimes I have to say, well, David, help me connect the dots there. Because even though we're both outcome, in this relationship, and here's where I'm going to show, because this is where it gets unique. In this relationship, I bring up the chart again, put David there and put myself. This goes outcome oriented, this goes process. I'm more process in this relationship. Because relatively to each other, I lean more in the process. So I have to connect some dots with him, even though I'm outcome oriented. If I look at my business partner, he's even further out than David. And so he'll come with all kinds of ideas. It falls on me to put a process hat on, even though I'm not normally, and I can be process. That's a competency I have. But I have to kind of connect the dots and to interact with him and to come up with ideas and to be creative together. So that's quickly on VUjade. And then I wanted to come back to this because one of the things you said with your hobbies was you talked about there sometimes you need to interact with people and sometimes you need to, have a little bit of space. Like the dancing one was a perfect example. I like, you need to be individual. And so I'm going to bias you a little bit, but I want you to be very honest with yourself when you take the survey. I'm going to guess you're here somewhere balanced. And just to get your connection with that, I'm going to bring up a different team here. And David, I know I don't have to ask your permission for this, but I'm going to show you this.
You go, Jug. You go for it.
So I'm bringing up the Growth OD team. This is the team that David started. And I've got David right there. And I've got an important person in his life, Grace Ann. She is balanced in this case right here. And so, David, talk a little bit about what Grace Ann brings to your relationship. The
Everything,
dynamic
Doug.
of, uh,
She's
I'm
my
glad to
light,
hear
my
that.
life, my love. You know.
So, talk to me about the outcome
Well, she got
versus
me
the
into
process.
Jainism for one thing, which
Hmm.
is a very process-oriented kind of philosophy, and she doesn't like to watch the news, and she doesn't like negativity, and she loves horses, and she's talking about horses 24/7. She likes it if I wash the dishes and like it. And, she wants to
Um,
eat together in the morning, and uh, she doesn't. Oh, one of the things I learned from her that 40 years as a professor, I lecture, and she said we haven't had a good conversation since we were dating, and so now I'm trying to have more conversations that are interactive with her. I guess
so
not,
stop right there, process that. Look where
yeah,
Grace Ann is on her sensory. We haven't
yeah.
had good conversations. She is primary auditory. She's also primary kinesthetic. So when you share riding horses, that's a common activity. But she's talking about her knee. Who pays the bills?
She does.
Very process oriented kind of thing. Now, once again, she's balanced. I don't know if she loves paying bills, but in
Well,
this
she seems to know everything about where all the money is all the time, so I don't know. By the way, I was terrified to hear about the money. She tells us about how much we have in retirement and this and that, and I go like, I'm terrified. I don't want to hear anymore because I grew up poor, and you're telling me we have this money, and it's just freaking me out. Then you're saying we lost this much money, but we're going to get it next semester. I'm like, I pick up a quarter on the sidewalk and put it in my pocket. I don't think in terms of the way you think. But the other
right.
day, I had my first where I listened to her go through all of the money and all of the different accounts, the CDs, the investments, the savings. I'm going like, okay. And I even asked good questions, you
How
know.
did you, so you're kinesthetic, so feeling is important. How did you feel when that happened? What were the
Well,
thoughts that went through your head?
I could, because I was getting out of my fear of poverty, I could listen to her talk about how the money's being managed. And then she tells me yesterday afternoon that if we go to the hospital, they're going to take all our money and spend it on the hospital bills. Like they'll only pay for things once we've spent all our money. I'm going like, what kind of health plan is that? You know,
That's America, sadly. That's what I
I
have as well, by the way.
don't know how it is in Russia, but I mean, I don't want to, you finally get ahead a little bit and then they're going to take all, I want that money to go to
Yeah.
my kids or something, my grandkids. I'm sorry, I'm popcorning again, but
That's okay. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, so a question for you right here. Did you feel after she, once you got past kind of the trauma, the trigger of the scarcity piece that's there, and she was talking about, here's where the money's at. This is what it's. Did you feel grateful that she did it rather than you did it? Do you feel grateful that she
Oh
manages all
yeah, I
that?
mean, I wasn't able to do it. Well, my first marriage, I managed the money, checked the balance of the accounts and all that, and managed to go bankrupt. And I married the card queen. So I mean, had to keep cutting up the credit cards. But uh, I know how to balance a checkbook, but I don't want to do it. It's not something that's a hobby, you
And, and
know.
so that right there, that's good. It's some people thrive on doing that. They love those kinds of details. That's a process person. And once again, the way you described it was perfect, David. I can do it. That's a competency, but I don't want to do it. That's a preference. And so that gets reflected right here. And so in that relationship, Grace Ann more happily takes on that role because that's closer to her style of thinking. She may not love it, but she's much better at it than you. It's the same for me and my
Oh,
business
she's
partners.
way better. And she's a
Yeah,
completely honest person, you know?
yeah.
So I know where I stand with her at all times, you know? And I used to worry that I would meet a woman and she wouldn't be strong enough to keep me under control. She's strong enough. One woman has spurs and whips, you know? So you got to be careful. That's a joke, by the way. That's a joke. Horse joke. Whipping horse. Anyway,
I get it.
yeah.
So yeah, Katrina, I want to. We're running out of time. We can continue if you want, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of come back to that. And as I heard you speak about your hobbies and connecting it here, so I'm looking forward to seeing your results. I'm happy to debrief you, on your results, and we can talk through that. And I love the way you look at things because it's unique. So, once again, the goal is not to put you in a box. It's to help you just have better understanding of yourself and a better understanding of other people. And how do you connect, align, and eventually, the more different you have, innovate from that through honoring that person's style.
Yeah.
I would tell you continue to do exactly what you do. Those meeting with your friends gives you energy, and realizing that if you're interacting with someone who you may not know well, it's how can you bring that same energy there and communicate that to people and say, you know what, my style, I really love to interact and brainstorm. That's that they, I want to get into those deep conversations and understand that. And just being able to state that to a person so they understand how they need to interact with you. You can do that without this chart right here. The chart helps though, because it just cuts down on the time. It makes it more efficient. You understand, your role in every different relationship you have. So
That's
I wanted
great.
to get back to you and let you just talk about your, hobbies or anything that you want to talk about. Ask questions.
Mm.
That's what I'm here for. Get your
Yeah, I
thoughts.
actually I do have some questions. It's like in this tool, um does it like have or give certain recommendations on like behavioral recommendations for, let's say you're comparing yourself to David and you're about to have like a business meeting or something. Um, and do they like are you planning on giving some behavioral recommendations on like how you can start the meeting with the person or some tips that you can use?
Okay, yep. And in fact, I told you this is in beta. So my work and why I'm hiding in the Rocky Mountains right now at 8,000 feet is I'm literally rewriting these things for those types of recommendations.
Mhm.
So you're going to get to see work in progress. So these will actually hopefully be implemented within the next 2 weeks. So so give me a moment right here. I'm going to be opening up a massive spreadsheet. So I'll give you an example of that. I'm going to use David and myself as an example. So I apologize for that open. Let's just take for David and myself, switch to me and to David. And so in this case, you'll see a big difference between this right here, myself, Doug, who I am a outcome introvert. I am outcome oriented and highly introverted. David is extremely outcome oriented, extremely extroverted. And
Yeah.
so as I come in here, so let's take that. Let's take the temperament one. And you're going to see me scroll a lot here. So let's put me first. I am highly introverted, right? And David is extremely extroverted. And this is actually literally what's coming in here in the next weeks. There's a little bit of that there right now when you go in, but I'm going to, and we actually will have different levels. We have what's called an intro level, an advanced level, and an expert level, which has all the mathematics behind it. So I'm going to go on the simple one here, which is more the advanced level. And so in this case right here, it tells me, uh, let me jump to there right there. So I need solitude, tranquility, less stimuli, because you obtain energy by having time to quiet yourself in quiet environment. I often let others talk, and then I engage in deep reflection on their statements, situation, events, and then interact. In this case, right here, it tells David requires and seeks stimulating environments, requires to engage with a multitude of people, obtains energy by spending time with them, generates ideas and builds understanding by brainstorming, and feeds off the immediate inputs of others. So I'll pause. David, does that sound like you?
Doug, I'm ready to feed off your input,
There you go. And so then it says see effort charts, and that's where we jump to the effort charts here. And so when I pull up David, myself and David, what it would do, and that this prescription is not right, it isn't here. That prescription which I described to you, where if I'm interacting with David, I first have to focus on that energy. It says, in this case right here, brainstorm with David. Let him share that information. So it does become prescriptive here, which will come in this section right here. It tells me that even though we're both outcome oriented, David's going to see things, so you might have to ask some questions to understand his perspective better. And in all of this, what I should be doing is we should be doing it together, not visualizing it. Not, David also is strong on speaking, so he likes to speak, so we can give those opportunities. Because David, as I look right here, he is primary kinesthetic, highly auditory, and he is moderately visual. So those are areas we connect. So that's all the information that's coming in there. So it does become prescriptive. Whereas if you've done things like DISC, it tells you the styles, but it doesn't really tell you what to do. And so what we wanted to do with VUjade, and we can only do that because we measure it, is then we can start saying, how much effort do you put in? How do you go about doing this? Does that answer your question, you?
Yes, and like if I get it right, you gonna have like a certain recommendations written down, right, for people. So
it will replace this section right here. So not just for certain people, in every interaction you have, those recommendations will be slightly different. So it takes all the thought work out of how do I need to connect to that person? No, there's still work to do. There's if you've discovered, your way of interpreting something is different. But this is the starting point for people. Now you can start having those conversations. And I realize this is important to you. Yes, David.
Oh, so reverse it for me. Like, what do I need to do to better communicate with Doug?
In this case, it's very similar right here. So, but once again, I'm primary. The way we connect sensory is we want to do it together. So writing a book together, you saw that was a productive session for us because we're all interacting with it. And of course, Tanya, in the case, she is completely integrated, so she can switch between any of them. So kinesthetic is what working together is where we get our best innovation. In this case, you have to give me, because you're going from being extremely extroverted to my highly introverted. This is the big one. When you ask questions, and you want to get my inputs, you've got to give me space. And so, for example, I talked about my business partner. I didn't get to finish that little story. He's highly or extremely introverted. I'm highly introverted. I would ask him questions initially when we were interacting, and there would be dead space, and I would get nervous, even though I'm an introvert, and say, "Oh, maybe he didn't understand that question," and so I'd ask it a different way. And for my business partner, Monty, he's thinking about so many different things. He just needs more time to absorb. And so sadly, he would start over. And what I quickly learned is when I asked my business partner a question, I just shut up.
I wanted to clue you in. I like it when you go introverted because it draws me into introverted. And when you go process, I can go process. I just have to switch gears,
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's realizing that you know how to switch gears. And so for my business partner, I will be quiet for up to like 30 seconds and not say a word because he's actually coming up. And then that's the fastest way to get his thoughts. And he's brilliant. but he needs that time because he sees the world differently to integrate an effective response. And at times, if he knows he's going to change, he'll say, Doug, go get a cup of coffee and come back. Because by the time I come back 2 or 3 minutes later, he has an answer. And once again, if I keep jumping in, he restarts the clock. So I don't get that answer. It causes noise for him. He needs that space, even though we're both introverted. And so in this case, for David, at times, he's got to be comfortable with, well, Doug needs a little space. Let him think about it for a moment. And I will actually tell David, David, give me a moment. Just let me think about it. And I'll come back with it. And maybe the next day I'll say, but you know what? Let me think about it tonight. And tomorrow I'll come back. Because somehow in my sleep, things just mold together. In fact, with my team that I work with, most of us are introverted. We change the way we work as a team. And what we do is we have a weekly meeting. And in a lot of, especially here in the US, there's a lot of push that you want to make a decision today. That's a very extroverted behavior. And it doesn't respect the introverts in the team. And so what we do is say, hey, this is the way we're leaning, but everyone go away and think about it. And we're going to just reconnect tomorrow morning real quick. And if you have any new ideas or things like that, let's bring them up. And then we'll make a decision. So we kind of structure our work so we work to our style as a group, as a team. And what comes out of that is just the next morning, someone will say, hey, do we think about this? And it's like, brilliant. We forgot about this. Or, yeah, we like that idea, and here's the reasons why. But it gives the team a time to process it, and we get better solutions out of it. And that's what we want. We want people to be authentic and come out with the best possible solution. If you don't allow them to do that, if you force them, and I'm not saying there aren't times when you have to make a decision but in truth, it's really rare. So we change ourselves. So David has to give me space to think. And then last, we're both outcome. I'm just going to be less outcome. So in this relationship, I play the process in this relationship. In fact, for me, David and Tanya, because Tanya is very process, we talked about it last week that in many ways, a role I can play is be the facilitator. So sometimes I translate David's ideas because I get it faster as an outcome person. And I translate it and say, stop, David, let's talk about some steps. And that leads to Tanya then getting on the same page with us because she's highly processed. She can't grasp an idea as easily because it's a broad thing. And we have to slow it down to go through, okay, here's the idea. What would be the broad steps we need to take? And then she gets it and says, oh, okay, that's great. And then she's engaged and she's adding tremendous value. So I play a facilitator in this team, not in every team I'm in, but that's a role I can play that benefits the group.
Beautiful.
So David, did I answer your question?
Oh, yeah, brilliantly. Very good. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all. And I did record this session, so.
And we can stick around so I can answer more questions for you.
I'm going to end the recording.
I have a few minutes.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. It was really nice being here with you. So I have one question, Doug, is
please.
You right now you have given so many good ideas on how it can be used for reconfiguring or configuring like the teamwork and the group work, right? And the roles. And do you also plan on giving in this app, as I understand, in this software, do you plan on giving recommendations for the whole team?
Yes.
Yes.
So for example, this is a perfect one to look at. This is the Growth OD team. So we meet every Monday, and this is a bunch of people that.
Oh, go ahead and put it up again. I took you down.
Oh, sorry. Let me just share that. So, for example, as we look at this team right here, you'll see, let's get introvert, extroverts, process, outcome. And so in this right here, you'll see there's a lot. It's pretty balanced going introvert, extrovert. There's a good, pretty balance there. We get very specific. We look at clusters. We've already started to do this analysis. We just want to get all the other stuff done first, and then we'll do a team analysis. But as we look at this team, what's the unique characteristic you see about this team? You can explain. You tell me, Yekaterina, as you're looking, where are all the dots at?
Yeah, I can see that they're all kind of, I would say, they're all kind of like centered or not. I'm not sure which word to use, but they're not too much onto the extroverted or outcome, but the team is definitely a little bit more extroverted and outcome oriented, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with the. You're right. There are more extroverts than introverts, but it's not too bad. There's at least a fair representation. But you're absolutely right. It's highly skewed to the outcome side. There's very few process, and so it's interesting, and we're noticing this. I've got a number of different teams of organizational development that if I talk about this team, people in OD, and once again, this is not proven. This is a hypothesis, but just describing this team, we love talking about ideas and vision and things like that. What's the big picture? We're not very process oriented, which means OD people have a blind spot. They're
Well,
great
that's
at coming
cool.
up with this all ideas, but the steps to
Who,
get there we don't talk about. So for me, that was our executive team as well. We were all outcome, which is not
Doug,
uncommon when you're
who's way over there on the left?
this
There's
one here. This is
two or three
Monty.
people. No, on the left.
Oh, on the left. Oh, there's
Yeah.
Tanya.
Without Tanya and above there,
There's Elizabeth. She's very
Elizabeth.
process oriented.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a great discussion with
What?
her.
And there's
And I think
one
that,
further to the left. There's one way over there.
nope, this is it. These are the only two that are there.
Oh, okay. That's the spot on my screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Let me get that off of there.
Let me just
There we
reset
go.
it.
There we go. Almost got it off.
Let me
Okay,
reset
good.
that there.
I couldn't figure out who that was.
So, so the problem with that, and if I looked at my
Elizabeth.
executive,
Wow.
if
Yeah.
I looked at my executive team that I work with, what we learn to do is we say, oh, we have a blind spot. And so while we're great talking about ideas, we never end a conversation without saying, what are our next action steps? How
Hmm.
are we going to do this? We understand the why, great ideas, but how are we going to do this? And that's the same thing that, I've been hypothesizing with the OD community is we're great at ideas. We got to get better at how we're going to implement them. And, as I think about OD and I will go to the conferences and that, it strikes me that I'm worried about irrelevance because we're not, we're not deep into the corporate DNA. It's if there's a problem, we come in or things like that. And even then, that's hard to get into that to understand that importance. And that's because we're not thinking about how it actually is in the DNA of organizations. So that's what we can. Of course, I can look at a team diagram, and what's interesting is we've even tested to the point of my business partner and I that he'll interact with them, and I know nothing about that team, and he'll come back and say, if they're a team having troubles, where how would I describe it? And so, once again, in this case, Tanya and David are extraordinarily far apart. Let me get Tanya over on this here so I don't. There she is. And so if I was to look at this diagram, I would say, well, David, if there were problems and there are not, this is where I would start. I would start describing that. If I look at a team, I would say, great at ideas, can't implement anything. They need deadlines. They need to get structure in their organization, because they're not effective. Good teams have to have a balance of both, especially on the cognitive and process side. It's really important when you look at that's where we find the most when we're consulting. That's really the first place we look and we find most of the problems on the cognitive piece. Does that help you understand? That's the kind of stuff that's
Yeah,
going to come in here. We look at clusters
that's
as well. So this team is nicely dispersed. We have teams where it's clustered. And so, for example, we find that in teams that are very homogenous, not not heterogenetic, with teams that are homogenous, the most common dysfunction is a leader has hired someone who's just like them. And so much easier to communicate, but they have lots of blind spots. And they're, in survival as a company, you want to have diversity. and you want to respect those differences. The people out at the fringes see things before other people see them. And those people are the ones, if you pay attention to them and you include them in the analysis, they can help prevent prevent catastrophes that companies have.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can share with you, we did a little bit of work with NASA, and it was amazing. It was the
Mm.
most diverse and stretched out group we've ever seen because they hire for people that think differently. And I mean, there was literally no one clumped together. They were way out at the edges, some people in the middle. And it was interesting just interacting with that group because you could see that as long as they got past those communication barriers. I don't know if you're familiar with Tuckman's team dynamics, which is forming, storming, norming, performing. A team goes through that chain life cycle. Once you
Oh,
get
can you please repeat the
Yeah, so there's a model made by Tuckman, and it's the life cycle of a team to get to a high performing
uh-huh.
team. And so first off, a team forms. So that's the forming stage. A team comes together. We use that here in VUjade. Then the next step is the storm. So teams naturally storm. Some of them have arguments. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them will kind of figure out ways, how do I work with this person? And then they get to the norm. Once the team is able to norm, is only the time they can start performing. And so what Vujade says is, if you can cut down on that storming period and get them over that communication bump and they can norm to a way of communicating, you get them to performing at high performance later so they can collaborate and eventually build trust so a team can get into what's called flow. They just naturally work together well. They understand the roles. They all bring something to the team. It's respected. That's where you get the innovation. And so that's one of the goals of Vujade is to get them through the storming thing. Storming is good. Every team storms because you
Mm-hmm.
have to understand, how do we work together? And every team's going to be different. There's no right or wrong way. You just have to say, look at the dynamics of those relationships.
I
So
got a
that's how we use it in
question.
these. Yeah.
Ekaterina, what time is it there?
Oh, it's pretty late. It's like almost 1 a.m., but I saw that you host those meetings only once a month, so it's not a problem. I just decided to um
We got a couple other meetings you could come to. There's a Tuesday. It's even later. It's 1 o'clock here, which would be
oh, that would
one.
be like
Like
2 a.m.
you could get up
Oh,
real
1.
early in the morning and come.
We also have
Yeah,
the Monday morning Growth OD meeting, which is an hour earlier than this one
Yeah,
starts. So
there's will
and
only be
that's every
midnight.
Monday. So
Midnight, yeah.
you're at the early hour of midnight.
But
did
we'd
I
love
ask you?
you to come
Yeah,
and talk to us
David,
on Monday, Tuesday too. You know.
could I ask you to like I sent you my mail as well. Could I ask you to send me like the dates and the time of those meetings so I
I
can
will. I'll do that.
thank you so much. Yeah.
And I'd love it if you come on a Tuesday, even though you'd have to get up at 1 in the morning, but or no, 4 in the morning, but something like that. But I don't know if you ever did set your alarm. Maybe you could sleep earlier the next before or after. I don't know. But we would love to do a session on Bakhtin. That would
Oh
be really
yeah,
fun.
absolutely.
These meetings that you have, what do you usually like do you how do you choose a certain topic and then you like hold a discussion or
Yes.
Exactly. So usually it's a person within the team. Growth OD must have about 40 people, usually 25 to 30 people. I'll say 20 people showing up actively. And usually it's one of us in some of our works or initiatives or research that we're doing,
that's really
sharing sharing it with the team, and having, usually there's a short 20-minute kind of overview, and then we get action oriented. We have small breakout groups and discussion groups, and then bring that back and talk about how we implement it. So they're great sessions, and there's brilliant people
that's really
that are doing great work in OD, and not just OD. I mean, there's last week, as David said, um, there was a person who talked about dealing with traumas and how they dealt with it through poems. And
Yeah, it
initially
got
when
me
I heard
started
about
on
that,
poetry. That was good.
I thought about it, and I know her, and she's an incredible woman. But then, the way she brought it around and got everyone deeply engaged and connected on how it was, yeah, David's face right there, it was mind blowing. So, brilliant people who are just great
And
at their profession.
we had a lady on the Tuesday that did pretty much the same thing in her way last Tuesday. It was like blew my mind, you know? It was really
So
phenomenal.
it's nice I'm happy to wake up for me, it's waking up on Monday morning and just getting centered with some pretty brilliant people in our community. It keeps me in touch
That's
with
really
all the
cool.
great work.
And
In fact,
a lot of people are researchers like in academia as well, or
so Monday is more about practitioners, although the researchers are there as
oh,
well.
okay.
Tuesday is much more the scholarly research, and I'm sad because I always get conflicts in my schedule because I love coming to those as well. But I'm just
Yeah,
not, yeah, that's it's just, as we all have to, time is our most precious resource.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm asking because like I'm thinking about applying for a PhD in the US because I finished my master's here and I'm interested in like organizational psychology, organizational behavior, and like storytelling in this
yeah,
um field of study. So I think yeah, that would be really useful.
yeah. It would be, and we'd be happy to help you. And we had la next week on the Tuesday, a lady from Turkey who's pursuing her PhD is going to present, you know.
Mm,
And then after that, you know, there'll be more. We help a lot of PhD students, and some of my former PhD students are in there. And
mm.
in fact, Tanya Akins, we talked about a lot, she was my PhD student from, I don't know, 15 years ago or something.
Oh,
I was on her committee, put it that way. You know, she did a great dissertation, really good. You can do a great dissertation too. You have greatness in you. I do a little bit of predictions and I predict good things for you.
thank you. Thank you, David. So reassuring.
If not, we got Doug who's process and me who's
I'm not
outcome.
process,
And
I'm outcome.
well, you
I
are
just have
process in
to
our group. In
you,
our
I'm
group.
process to you. Yeah, I know. I have to always fight that because I'm
Okay, he's not
relatively close.
process. So we're
Thank
going to
you.
auditory you
Oh,
to death, with
I'm
kinesthetics.
okay. I like auditory as well. I'm good there.
But I mean, we help people get through their PhD. We're not the I don't know, Gestapo kind of professors.
Hmm. I
Well, I
Where
have to.
where are you at
I
in Russia? Where are you at?
I'm in Siberia, which is like
Siberia. Oh my God, they sent you to Siberia? How cold is that?
no, it's not cold. Now it's already like pretty warm. It's well, in Celsius we had plus 23, which in Fahrenheit I'm still not really good in like
It's about
translating.
70. It's 70
70.
Yeah,
That's
degrees.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
yeah.
that's good. We are finally transitioning into summer, so
I
that's
just had snow here yesterday, so I have snow in the mountains around us right now.
oh
We had about an inch and a
Wow.
half of snow. It's all melted because that's just the climate right here. But yeah, we had snow
Wow.
yesterday.
Well, Bakhtin was kind of exiled up near where you are somewhere in his
mm.
lifetime, because he got a little bit spiritual and that wasn't allowed. They got
Yeah, right.
they got kicked out of his teaching assignment and he had a tough time, that guy. Tough time. Yeah.
Yeah, in full disclosure, I do not have a PhD. I'm a lowly master's
Uh,
student right there compared to David. I decided I didn't want to chase academia and I wanted to be more a practitioner. But
that's okay.
I love the research in academia. Here in the United
I'm
States,
I'm
it's
trying
called
to
the
write
Academy of
stories
Management.
that are not academic so I can get out of my head and into my storytelling world.
Mm.
So, because I don't
I
have
really
to do outcome anymore.
There you go.
I really enjoyed doing my research for the master's degree. It was storytelling for entrepreneurs, meaning in life. And me and Naptom, we organized that um, it was like a workshop that lasted 8 weeks, and we hosted webinars where people were sharing stories about their mission, about like values on those topics, and then we also gave them like an individual assignment to notice moments in their everyday life and write them down, and then they would turn them into the stories. And it was really cool. And I did all the research and like qualitative and quantitative. And I used the Riff's um, psychological well-being scale, and I got the significant changes in positive relations substance.
Yay.
Interesting. Interesting.
And yeah, and my scientific advisor, well, she said, research advisor, she said it's a really good result because the timing that we had was like pretty short, like 8 weeks was not, or even was like 6 weeks was
Wow.
not long. Yeah, and the amount of people were like, um, yeah, I had 20 something people in control group and an experiment group as well. And so even after that short period of time, there were significant changes. And it
Yay.
was all connected with like the more stories they shared and created, the better it was. Like so it
Sure.
was
Would you be happy to share your paper? Because this is my fourth
yes.
startup. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've
Me
only had
too.
one.
I want to see it. And I'll get it
Yeah,
to some entrepreneur professors. I work with two of them. So, yeah.
That would be so cool. I have actually, yeah, I prepared the writing sample that is like 40 pages long, so we don't have to read the whole 150 something pages.
I'm actually happy to
Oh no,
read both.
give me the
I love
long
the
version.
details.
It's
Me
fine.
too.
Okay.
I don't need
Yeah,
to
Okay.
skip
details.
stuff.
Yeah, I
I
don't need to
think,
skip it
yeah,
either.
yeah, I think I'd start with a sample because it's in English and my original one is in Russian, so I'll need to first translate the full original one to Russian, but the sample I already have in English.
Well, we got
So,
a guy on Tuesday who's a Russian linguist, so he can handle it too.
really?
So
Yeah, he's an amazing man.
he's
And I used to speak
82 and
Russian.
he doesn't stay on topic very long, but
No, he
he's
doesn't, but
very
he's a
fun.
brilliant man. Yeah. And I don't speak it now, but I used to speak Russian equally as well as English until I was about 4 or 5 years
And
old.
that's the whole thing about Bakhtin. It'd be really good
Really?
to understand the technical terms in Russian, so you get
Exactly, because
the
the
meaning.
meaning is so much more is different.
We
Yeah.
lose the
Right,
meaning in English.
right, right.
I have to go. I have a
I
meeting
have
here
to
in
go. I have to go.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah, it's been
go.
a pleasure to meet you. I will email you sometime this weekend. I've got a packed in day today, so it won't be very quick. But I'll
Yeah.
email you this weekend with an invitation to not only connect, but to also a complimentary VUjade survey.